Okay, Mr. Trevor, so let's say I'm coming in for a lesson here and I wanted to learn how to turn my arms off.
Yep.
Right, we got a lot of guys that come in for lessons. They've seen some of our videos before, and when they go play, they feel like they have a lot of tension in their arms and hands, and they're working really hard to try and hit the ball.
Yep.
And we want to be able to go out and play and hit the ball solid, but feel relaxed and turn our arms off. So let's say I'm the student today.
Yep.
You're the teacher, as per normal. And I come in and I'm like, I have those same issues and I want to learn how to take the tension off. Where would I start? Where would I begin with this?
So the number one thing I would say is like where we need to start in regards to should we turn our arms off or should we actually accelerate them is one, do we actually have any structure at the top? Because like I've even seen it from the opposite spectrum, like what you're saying, where I've seen players come in, if I jump in there for like 2 seconds, I've seen players that come in that have seen some of our videos and like, wow, I've really got to learn how to be tension free. Love the videos that you've done right there. And they come in and they look like an octopus swinging a spaghetti noodle and they're here like this. And it's like, that's great. You're learning how to create feel, but we don't have any control over the object that we're
Trevor,
actually
you said
swinging.
tension free, man. You said loosey-goosey.
And that's why we're here right now.
Right.
So I think whether you're the person that is super tight or let's say you've taken this too far, we need to develop some structure inside of this.
Okay.
There needs to be a structure developed inside of this to where we're still in control of what our face-to-path relationships are or what the club alignments are at the top, and we know where the club is. It's not just going all over the place right here where it's one step away from rebounding off of our shoulder.
Okay.
That would be too tension-free, but in the same sense, like you're saying, I think if we have somebody that's death gripping it right here, I mean, we don't even have the ability to transfer any energy into the golf club. So you've got to be able to decide which type of player are you for how we're going to relate this to you.
We're going to partner with Lab Golf, and I wanted to try these putters out on the golf course and literally putted the best that I have in my entire life. I've been seeing the ball go in the hole for the first time in a long time. I'm freaking confident on the greens for the first time in a long time. The game's a lot more fun, and I didn't change anything. I've been practicing more. I didn't change my stroke. I literally just changed putters. That is so exciting for me. We're gonna partner with Lab Golf and Sam as a thank you to them, and hopefully to get you one of these in your bag as well. Maybe I know that you're gonna love these, so I think the value is incredible. It's an investment, right? They're not cheap, but with the 10% off code and with how long I think you're gonna use these, I think the value is really high. I'm sure you spend a lot of money on drivers and things like that are expensive too, but I'm gonna plan on using these for the next like 10 years. So when you do the math that way, I think it's a freaking steal. And you want to putt better and you're looking for a putter. I've never used a putter that's this good ever in my life. And I know that you're going to love it as well. Lab Golf will be in the description down below. Use code Cogorno, get 10% off. I hope that you'll try one and that you'll be as excited about your putting and your game as I am about mine. I want to be tension free, but with structure.
Yep.
Not all over the place.
Yep.
And if I was just going to start, am I starting like hitting balls with this? Feel my arms and hands relaxed. It's set, like let's even say just setup.
Yep.
Setup and me starting the club back. Because I know we'll get to later in this video, there's times where, you know, my arms want to be more off or passive.
Yep.
And there's times where the arms want to be more active.
Yep.
Right? But if we're starting with the setup position and I'm coming from, I'm tense, I'm gripping the club, I'm doing a lot of effort. How am I starting even here?
Yeah, so I think the first place that you would start right here, like one of the checkpoints that we could use, whether you're too tight or not, is if I come in here, you can see how loose Eric is actually. He's holding on to the golf club, but I can come in here, I can move the golf club. I can go this direction, okay? So his arms are actually reacting to the force that I'm creating right there. If you're so tight, like if you show them too tight, and I'm trying to bend this right here with all my might, okay, that would be way too tense right there. So when you're in setup, I think that's one of the first things to be able to check is, do you have the ability to actually hinge the golf club?
Okay.
And it doesn't feel rigid when you're trying to do that. So it's like
and even like little waggles,
there
maybe?
You go, exactly. Okay. I think that would be a good place to start because that's what's gonna give us the feel of where the club head is. That's gonna allow us to know where it is at the top and be able to remain tension-free, keeping the arms turned off in the backswing and being able to feel what our structure is at the top.
And if I'm doing this now, this is like my hands on the club, right, is obviously one of them. Yep. And I have my arms in general, and I'm kind of feeling my hands and my arms like soft.
Absolutely.
Like
I would say starting from the shoulder joint as well. Like if you're tight in this area right here and your traps right here and in your shoulders, well, that tension's typically going to run down the arms into the hands, and that's going to carry into the grip in the club head itself right there. So
like
I would
this
say,
way.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
to where you see the shoulders up like
See
this.
that a lot.
This is what I would say Eric and I see all the time is this is probably your way of checking and telling whether you're too tense or not right
Even
there.
where your shoulders are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So my shoulders are relaxing down, my arms feel soft, and my hands, and even like this, to Trevor's point, I'm not in here loosey-goosey like this with no structure. We'll keep using that.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of soft here and relaxed. My shoulders feel down, my arms relax, and my hands relax, but I still have, you know, I've got good structure of where the butt of the club's forward. My elbows are fairly close together. Like I've got a good setup structure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So like if, let's say we did this, so if we did a backswing together, so this is Eric and his good structure right here. So if we look at his lead arm and the shaft as a radius right here, as we move this to the top, this is very tension free. And if I get out of the way there, you can see that has structure to it. Now, if we start in here at that bad setup that we always see where the shoulders are up right here, and I try and move this, this is probably about the furthest that we're gonna get it, or we're just gonna see the arms collapse this way. Oh, yeah. That would be probably the next piece that I see is then the arms just move into us like this and we have no width, and we don't have the ability to get the club to the top.
Get the club to the top correctly.
That's the person that needs to turn their arms off right there, and their shoulders even. Okay,
so that's a big thing you're seeing here is as I'm doing this, I gotta be able to still have good width and good structure at the top. So I'm still, you know, fairly loose with the arms and hands.
Absolutely.
But I'm getting into some good spots there.
Absolutely.
And in terms of me hitting, let me just bunt one out like that first to start with. So I'm loose here at the top, or loose here at setup. Shoulders are down, arms and hands feel relaxed. I'm gonna keep good structure, but stay pretty loose during the backswing. Like that to me would have felt very, very, very passive and arms off, like totally. Now, as I make my backswing with this, because there's different times of the swing, right? So we were saying before, I'm like, hey, are the arms active or passive at setup? And we kind of looked at each other like, what? What do you mean? It was like, they're passive. They're not really doing much of anything.
Correct.
The backswing, we would say, is still, you know, leaning more towards passive with the arms.
I would agree.
There's some things going on, but they're more towards passive. But then once I'm sort of at the top of the backswing and I'm starting down and throughout my downswing, there's going to be some action going on there with my arms.
Absolutely. That's where we would start to be, I call this transitioning the golf club. So that's where the golf club would be moving.
Yeah.
If I jumped in here, that's where the golf club would be moving from. So it is it's moving a direction right here. So it's moving towards the target. And now we're redirecting it this way. So that would just be like a very basic, just a pendulum theory. There's a time that the club has to transition before it starts to re-accelerate again. That's what I would call that right there. Then, once this gets into its transition, this is where it starts to really accelerate. And that's where we would start to put the gas on it right there.
Yeah. And so even if I was in here, okay, got it. And if I was in here doing this, and we're gonna fast forward it for the sake of the video, but if I was the tension guy, and I'm the tension guy throughout my whole swing, like maybe someone watching this, I would maybe start with what we just did and hit quite a few like that first, right?
Absolutely.
So I might, like, let's say I've got my 8-iron here, I'm relaxed with my hands, my arms, my shoulders. I'm gonna keep it relaxed on the way back with good structure, and I'm gonna just keep it relaxed on the way down, just to start with. So I've got good structure throughout the whole way. I mean, I just probably hit that 8-iron. Let's see how far that goes. We'll just call that 120, 30 yards maybe, something like that.
I would say a good $130.
$130 into the wind, range ball. I felt like I didn't swing literally at all. So I think if you're the player who is super tension the whole way and you want to turn your arms off, that's probably a good place to live.
That's a very good place to live. And what I think that player is going to gain out of this is they're going to gain feel. They're going to gain feel of what the club head is, because when we're gripping it so crazy tense, that's where the golf club feels weightless, and we don't know whether the face is open, we don't know whether it's closed, and we don't know whether it's square.
Can't feel the weight of the club head.
Yeah, if we don't know where that is, man, it's going to be pretty difficult to square that up down at the moment of truth right there.
Great point. And so I'm doing this, you know, I'm spending some time on that, at least as a warm-up. Let's say, you know, we fast forward, I'm getting a good feel for that, and I'm like, hey, at some point in time, I know there needs to be some speed, right? And this sort of brings us to part number 2 during the downswing, where if I'm pretty passive at my setup, relaxed arms, hands, shoulders, I'm pretty passive and relaxed on the way back, but still with good structure. Now, when I come down from a feel perspective,
Yep.
from a feel perspective,
Yep.
we're trying to get this alignment rod or this club to create speed, not really back here with the club head,
Yep. Not with the hands early.
not like this, but we're trying to get that club head to create speed really through and past impact.
Right.
Right, that's the idea?
Yeah, I think a good reference for all of us is getting really good. If you set up there again,
Yep.
get really good at this area. So as Eric works it back, as he starts down here, once he reaches this area, this is where we should be full throttle by here. This is full throttle by here, and you'd be accelerating it to here. And this is where our unloading phase of the golf club would be. So this is where we would be unloading that golf club right there. So this is where that's starting to flatline. That would be where the hands are starting to flatline. The arms have created all of their speed, and that's where we've worked that into a full loading pattern here into an unloading pattern on this side right there.
Okay.
That's where we would be transferring the energy from the body through the arms into the actual golf club. And I think swinging this for players, I think this is a great auditorial feedback station right here. I think that's a great auditorial feedback station.
So obviously I take that and I want to create that whip or that sound, you know, past impact, which people have seen, you know, various forms of. And then when I put a club in my hand, so the general idea is like pretty relaxed, right? Relaxed with good structure to here.
Yep.
And then, okay, so once I'm getting down to about hip high, I'm like turning the jets on and I'm trying to create the speed through impact.
And you can even hear that right here. Even though you're not going at your highest speed, we can auditorially, we can pick up where the sound is.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's something that people should really pay attention to when you're making rehearsals and you're working on something like this that Eric and I are saying. Where do you hear yourself creating speed? Do you even hear yourself creating speed? If you don't hear yourself creating speed, this video's for you. You're way too tight.
Yes, yeah, okay. So if I'm hitting with this here to start with, and I'm gonna just do the full passive one first. So this is kind of step one, arms relaxed, shoulders down, hands relaxed. Keep it relaxed with good structure. Really feel it passive the whole way. But good structure. I really love the way that feels for me personally. I feel like a Freddie Couples out there.
Absolutely.
But I'm doing that and I'm like, hey, I don't want to hit my 8 iron 130 yards. I want to hit it 170 yards. So once I can do that a little bit, now I'm going to feel the same passive.
Exactly. So from here to here, that's where we're going to start to put the gas on.
So I feel like I'm creating the speed, almost like I'm throwing the club head or creating it sort of out a couple feet in front of the ball there. Okay, let me do that with the ball. So passive at setup, shoulders down, arms and hands relaxed. Keep it relaxed on the way back with good structure. Speed at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, that felt really good.
Exactly. So what's neat about that is creating what we would call, that's creating speed at the right place and at the right time. So we're going from that loading phase to that unloading phase.
Okay, so it's not even just like, should my arms feel totally passive or not? It's not so much black and white, yes or no. It's like how much and when are the real variables. And there's more micro stuff that we have talked about off camera about depending upon where the player's coming from. That might be a little too deep for this video, right? But it does depend a little bit on where you're coming from. But the basics, let me do that one more time. I almost like that sequence. I kind of like doing one fully passive.
Yep.
So the hands are relaxed, arms relaxed, shoulder down. For me, passive the whole swing with good structure. So my arms feel like they're going, I don't know, 10% maybe.
Right.
And I'm puring those. I don't know if we can hear the contact going through there. And then now I'm doing the same thing, but I'm going to turn the jets on from there to there. Okay, let me do that one more time. So very passive, relaxed at setup, good structure, speed at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, that feels really nice.
So if I explain one piece to that, to what Eric is doing right there, what he's doing inside of his slow motion one, that would be more of the stretching phase of muscle groups. So this is the stretching phase right here. Then when you're putting the gas on and you're creating your acceleration, this would be our contraction phase. That's where we're unloading, creating stability, etc. And that's how you can go from what looks like relatively effortless to hammering the golf ball and looking like this at our finish right there.
And you know what's interesting as I'm doing this too? Because there's speed and then there's like effort.
Yep.
And so like I'm feeling here, like I don't feel like my backswing's going slow per se. I just feel like it's very relaxed and my arms are turned off. And on the way through the ball, I'm not feeling like I'm creating tension there with my arms and hands. I just feel like I'm getting the club head to move faster.
Yep.
So it's sort of interesting. I'm not really ever letting go of that arms relaxed feel per se, but just that club head speed at the bottom. So it just feels very relaxed, shoulders relaxed, good structure on the way back, and then speed at the bottom. Yeah, I don't feel like my tension in my arms and hands through the ball from a feel perspective really changes all, which is interesting when I'm doing that. So if you're watching this and you're, again, on the end of the spectrum of lots of tension, live in phase one. Like as part of your practice plan, even at home or out on the range, get relaxed with that. Your grip pressure, the arms, hands, etc., but with structure. Okay, video feedback would be good there, but with structure.
Very key.
And then once you get good at that and you're like, hey, that's cool, my swing feels good, the tension's gone, I'm relaxed, I'm enjoying this, then you start to throw speed on the bottom. Again, you can start to really focus on that from hip high through and get used to creating that speed and stopping at that position, right in the follow through, and just get that into your normal finish position. So I kind of like that little 2-swing sequence,
and that
fully relaxed.
Yeah, and that turns that into a motion. That turns that into a motion that you can play golf with.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, those last couple balls I'm hitting like that feel like I would go hit an 8-iron from the fairway.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would be a great place for a lot of viewers right there to start.
Cool. So we'll probably do more on this because we were talking off camera. There's a lot of micro details we could do videos on of like turning your arms off or firing the arms. But I think as a macro level, that's a good place to start. Trevor, appreciate you, man. Thank you.